Hi guys, thank you so much for helping me with this experiment. We're going to try it one more time today. Yesterday I was just grading your papers. I was genuinely excited. Today I want you to slow down a little bit and think about it. I think a lot of them are just simple mistakes. You guys can do this. You're great. Okay, good luck. I want to remind you about our vocabulary word, inverse relationship. Remember, that is operations that undo each other, such as opposites we talked about yesterday. So today we are going to be working on writing and solving multiplication and division equations. Our school group is planning a trip to New York City. There are 29 people going on the trip. They agreed to share the total cost of the trip equally. Let S equal each person's share of the cost. What is each person's share of the cost? Pause the video now and figure it out. All right, let's check your work. Let's compare your work to Eric's work. Go ahead and pause the video now. What do you notice about your equation and Eric's equation? How'd you do?
Remember, the whole goal of solving equations is to get the variable alone. The variable equals something on the other side, right? Get that variable all alone. Another thing to remember is that anything you do to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other. If you don't, the equation will not be balanced and you won't have an equation because each side are not equal to each other. So whenever you do one thing to one side, you have to do the exact to the other side. That's the other really, really important thing to remember. And then also, lastly, when you are solving equations, we use the inverse operations. With addition, if we're trying to get rid of addition, we use the subtraction. If we're trying to get rid of subtraction, we use addition. We use the opposite operation to cancel out or undo what's been done to the variable.
All right, let's start out with our example 1. 3x equals 45. Okay, well, I know 3x is 3 times x. So using my inverse operations, I know I'm going to have to divide by 3. 3x divided by 3 equals 45. And then because of my property of equality, I know I'm going to have what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I could write this as 3 divided by 3. Well, we know that's 1. That leaves me x. And then I could do 45 divided by 3. Solve that. 3 goes into 4. 1, 1, 5 goes into 15. X equals 15. Okay, this is example 2. Now remember, on any equation, our goal is to get the variable by itself. So I've identified my variable, 18 times n. And I know the inverse operation of multiplication is division. I'm going to do division a little bit different. We know that this is 18 divided by 18. What? Because of my balance of equations, I have to do what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Got it? So I could rewrite this if I needed to. 18 divided by 18. Well, I know that's 1. That leaves me 1m, and we know that's the same as m. I could rewrite this equation, 36 divided by 18. How many times can 18 go into 36? So I know 18 can go into 36 2 times. 18 times 2 is 36. 0, m equals 2. Now, if I wanted to double check that I was right, I could take my equation 18 times m, which I know now is 2, equals 36. 18 times 2 is 36. Great work, guys. All right, let's move on to a third equation. Y divided by 11 equals 987. I know the inverse, or the opposite, of divide is times. So, I've got y divided by 11 times 11, which we know those will just cancel, equals 987. And then we want to keep our balance, so our balance of equality. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I know now that a divide and a times, that just cancels them out. They're the opposites. We cross them out. And that leaves me y equals 987 times 11. I'm just going to jump you over here really quick. 987 times 11, I did the math, equals 10,857. Now, if I wanted to check my work to make sure I was right, I would take y, which I now know is 10,857, divide it by 11, and I would get 987. Great work, guys. It's a great idea to always check your work, especially today, because I want you to slow down and think about your math. It's the little things. All right, let's do one more. Okay, for our fourth example, I have the equation r divided by 187 equals 9. All right, the inverse, or the opposite, of division is multiplication. So r divided by 187 multiplied by 187 equals 9. And because we have to keep the balance balanced, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side, multiplied by 187. So I know that my division and my multiplication will cross out. They're opposites. We can just cross them out. They cancel out. And that leaves me r equals 9 times 187. I've done the math over here. So r equals 1,683. Now I want to check my work. Always check your work. I'm going to substitute my r because now I know what it equals. 1,683 divided by 187. Or I probably should have wrote this in standard form. 1,683 divided by 187. And if I did the math, I would get 9. Great job, guys. Let's try some on our own. Hi, guys. Let's review for a second. How can you write and solve a multiplication or division equation? I want you to pause the video and talk with your partner or neighbor about that. Okay, great. What did you decide? If you use a variable to represent the unknown, and then we need to decide whether we want to use multiplication or division equation for the situation, then we want to use the inverse operation to get the variable all alone on one side of the equation, and then we can solve it. Great job, guys. Now I have a question for you. Which property of equality would you use to solve these two equations? Pause the video, talk with your neighbor. What do you know? If you chose the division property of equality for 8n equals 16, great job. Remember, 8n is multiplied together, so we have to divide on both sides to make the property of equality. So we would use the division property of equality. For equation 8 divided by n, we know the inverse of division is multiplication. So we would use the multiplication property of equality and multiply by 9 on both sides. Great job, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, do you understand? Do you know how? And practice and problem solving. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.